I'm going to leave y'all with some thought. When you see a police officer, right, and around this police officer, you see a bunch of drug dealers. Now, these drug dealers know that the police is standing there, and the police officer is very much aware that these are drug dealers, right? A lot of people in the neighborhood or in the community will be like, why isn't the police officer arresting these drug dealers? Because the police officer don't want the drug dealer. They want the person that provide the drugs to the drug dealers. That's who they want. They want the source. They don't want the drug dealers because they know if they get the source, then the drug dealers are going to get eliminated or go somewhere else. And this is how it is for us. See, the God that is running this whole dimension, this God really don't need us. This God really don't want us. We are not really the important ones. We are just the children of the source. The God of this universe wants our source. So the fact that this God can't get to our source, the God is holding us hostage and is tormenting us. Because as long as this God of this universe is watching us and tormenting us, we are not the important ones, because the important one is the source, the ones that provide for us, the one that give us life, the one that we wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for our source. So the fact that this God can't get to our source, it rather torment the children, because everything that this God wants from our true God, our true source, this God wants it. So since this God can't have what our true God has, it rather torment the children. But we as the children, we know deep down in our spirit and in our soul who our true source is. And this God knows it. But the thing about it is that even though this God knows that we know who our true source is, this God has to keep us dumb and has to keep us asleep. Because if we was to wake up and know who we really are, then we would know who our true source is. And once we know who our true source is, then we would know that that God is an imposter and that God is fake. So even though we have the answers to everything that this God need and want, this God has to keep us deaf and dumb, because in order for us to get the answers to ourselves, we will have the answer to our source. So right now, this God don't want us to wake up, because if we get the true answers to who we are and where we come from in our source, we are going to go back and we're going to go along with our source, and then this God will lose all power. So this is the reason why we are deaf and dumb, and we were programmed and we were made to be dumb and sleep. Not because this God wants us. The war is not really on us, but we hold all the answers and the knowledge and the wisdom in us. But this God, even though everything that this God needs, we have. But if we find out that we have it, we're going to find out about that God. This is why in the story, the whole Adam and Eve story, the God told Adam and Eve, don't eat from that tree. Because he didn't want Adam and Eve to know who he really was. Because even though he knew who they really was, they didn't know who they really was. And if they find out who they really is, then they will find out that that God was an imposter and was fake. So when the serpent came walking around and said, eat from the tree, they was revealed the truth. And then they realized who they really were. And that God cursed them. Something to think about.